This panel is called Publishing Book Panel. I am Paul Shexnayder. They told me to introduce myself. I'm a local artist here and an author-illustrator. I have 6 books that I have traditionally published, author-illustrator picture books. And I have illustrated 6 other people who have self-published those books, and I did the illustration for them for picture books. And I also did 1 other picture book illustrations for which was traditionally published also. And I know all these guys up here, and work with them and watch them grow, and they've given me so much help with my own work, and so I'm so happy to have them here. Just a note, if you noticed on the website, this is Juliet Cross. We were supposed to have Allison Foti Ork, who is a children's book author, and she's sick. So she called me late yesterday, and Carol and Nancy freshly came, and they have just as much as experience, probably even more so than Allison with. And this is what we're going to talk about. The subject is publishing traditional, self-publishing, and hybrid. And so we'll talk about all that, all the similarities, what's the difference, and hopefully you can make a decision on what's the best way to get you published. So introductions, very general introduction, so you may want to talk a little bit more about yourself. But first we have Juliet Cross, and she has a long history of self-publishing books, but traditionally her genre is fantasy, paranormal, and contemporary romance. And we have a dynamic duo writing team of Carol Stubbs and Nancy Rust, and they have published 5 books together, traditionally, hybrid, and self. So wealth of experience for all of them. All right, so we'll get started. Julianne, can you just sort of take us through your journey of writing? A quick journey.
I was about to say, this is only 45 minutes, right? Right. So I've always been a writer or had a passion for writing. I majored in creative writing at LSU. I went into teaching and started a family and kind of put off my own personal writing for a while. It was around 2012 I decided to get serious about novel writing, and I published my first book in 2014. Since then I've written 30. They're not all published because some are coming out next year. I started out with small to mid-sized publishers. There's some pros and cons to that, and we'll get more into detail as we go through. And then finally took a chance on myself, and that's actually when my readership took off, when I became an indie or self-published author. And since then, it's opened up a lot of doors to actual traditional New York publishers that have come calling finally. It's taken 10 years though. I've been publishing for 10 years, and I'm finally at a point where I feel like, I'm where I want to be, as an author. So that's the brief overview.
Yes.
Ladies?
Carol or Nancy, you want to talk about just a little bit about what you have done and your experience with publishing, just quickly,
Okay, I'm Carol Stubbs, and Nancy and I write together. We started writing in 2011. We took a chance on a book. Our first book was Louisiana Christmas, and we self-published that one. And then it grew from there. So we have all kinds of publishing experience. And this book is more adults, and then we have children's book and a family book. So we have a kind of all ages represented there. So add to our story.
Well, this book right here, we first self-published it, and then Pelican took it. So it was traditionally published with Pelican after we sold out from our self-publishing. This is a hybrid. This is traditional, and that also is hybrid, the Condom Soldier.
And then this one's self. So we have...
You might want to define hybrid.
What is hybrid?
And that has multiple meanings as well. So go ahead.
So with a hybrid, you share the expense with the publisher. And so not all publishers will do it, but you put up some investment. So you will need to earn back your investment before you start. You still get royalties. You still have a publisher who helps you with marketing, but you have put an investment of funding yourself.
okay, I have a totally different definition of hybrid, but I also am in a very different genre. I in a very consumable genre of romance. Hybrid for me means I own some of the rights and a publisher owns some of the rights. So, for example, my Stay a Spell series, which is the one Wolf Gone Wild, Don't Hex and Drive, those up there, yeah, that was my first all indie series that really took off, and it did well enough that I had a publisher come and say, hey, do you want to partner with us and sell your rights? And I said, no, no, I don't, but maybe the print rights only. And that's kind of unusual. So it's a hybrid relationship because I still own the ebook rights and they own the print rights. But what was beneficial about that is that it got it in the brick and mortar stores of Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. Like it benefits me because readers will then go to the bookstore and say, oh, I like that series. I'm going to get the first one, and then I'm going to go read the rest of them on ebook. So, that's how it's beneficial to me. So, right.
To begin with, did you have an agent to start? I mean, did you try to get an agent to start?
I did. I had a bad agent to start. Or I should say inexperienced. Maybe that's the word. And I was inexperienced. I was green, she was green, and we were kind of rolling through. And she didn't negotiate the contracts very well. Now that I have a seasoned, really boss agent, I can see the difference now. But so I did at the beginning, but for small to mid-sized publishers, you don't have to have an agent. You can submit and propose without one. But if you're trying to go for the big publishers, the New York publishers, you absolutely have to have an agent. They won't consider you. So,
and if you don't know, in order to get an agent, that means you write a query letter,
right,
and you send those out as much as you can.
Yes, and getting lots of rejections is normal. It's very normal. I had a stack.
Yeah. Nancy or Carol, when you have done hybrid, what does the contract look like compared to, say, traditional? Is it kind of the same? And is everyone's different? Is everyone's contract different?
I can't speak about everyone, but our two contracts are very different. One of them, basically, I would say we partner. Everything is 50-50 with the publisher. The other one pays us royalties. I think more and more publishers now, if you have a picture book, and Paul knows more about that probably than I do, but more and more publishers, especially small and mid-sized ones, expect you to find your own illustrator. So that means that would be an expense on your part that is not shared by the publisher.
Right, that's correct. A lot of the authors have to pay the illustrator. This is for fiction books. Pay the illustrator kind of separate. They may or may not get a percentage of the royalties. That's kind of up to the author because the author is the one, it's their book. They have the contract, and then you can kind of work that out with the illustrator. So, yeah, I mean, every situation is different. Every publishing house is different. Like you said, small, independent, or whatnot. And how about, let's talk about rights, because you kind of brought that up. Let's go with you two. Do you own the rights to your traditionally published? Do you own the rights to the book?
No.
Or yeah.
No, we don't.
Yes, but we own, like for this one, we paid the illustrator. We own the rights to the art. So we bought that and this one too. And so, again, everyone is different. You kind of negotiate it, I would say, depending on what the book is, what you plan the market to be, and who the publisher is or who you're working with.
Yeah, and you had two different hybrid publishers, correct?
Yes.
Or they, was it kind of the same amount of money that you had to put out, or it was kind of different?
One of them, it was a 50, that was the one Nancy was talking about. It's like a partnership. It's 50-50 split. The other one was more of a unequal split. And we really are, we're pleased with the 50-50 split deal. It's more of a down the line, and there's more of a help with marketing on that end. And in fact, he sent me a little thing. I can read you a text about why his thoughts on hybrid publishing.
Yeah, that'd be great. Juliet, how about you? You started to talk about your rights, and that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's interesting because I had some friends who were indie only, and they were asking, well, do I need an agent? I've never had one. And the answer for me was yes. If you're going to sell your audiobook rights, if you're going to sell your foreign rights, you cannot, it's very difficult to do without an agent. You can, but then once you get to these contracts, there's nobody to really negotiate or really, I'm not a lawyer. And I also don't want to negotiate my contracts. And the other thing is that an agent can help in so many ways. Just this week, I had an issue. Well, this morning, as a matter of fact, I do a lot of book conferences out of town and out of the country, and I have one in DC coming up. Well, I sold the book rights to Stay a Spell and the print rights, and so I have to now order through my publisher, which is unusual. So I had to do this whole process, and they weren't getting back to me. And the conference is in 3 weeks, and they have to be there in 2 weeks in order for the company to then get them to, my booth on time and all of this stuff. So I was a little frustrated. I was like, I don't want to be the bad guy because we just started this relationship, and she's like, no, just CC me, reply politely and CC me. I said, okay. And I did. And immediately they responded, oh, I'm going to get that tracking number for you immediately. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. She's like, we're just and my friend calls them the alpha dogs. The agents they're the mean guys. She's like, I'll be the bad guy, whatever. We didn't have to do anything. She's like, yeah, I just lurk in the corner. Sometimes that's all I need to do, on an email. They are. And
they want to work off of percent.
Yes. And if you have a really good one, they're going to go to the fire for you every time, so.
So a little bit talking about that, maybe if we could talk about the pros and cons of each, since you've all experienced that. So let's start with traditionally publishing. What is the pro to do that? Y'all can all speak.
You want to go first?
Sure. The pro to me is you don't put out any money at all. And in this particular case, our publisher is the one, I think everybody can probably hear me, can't you? Yeah. Oh, okay. Our publisher is the one who got the author. He is a Canadian author. Illustrator, yes. And he is a Canadian illustrator. We certainly could not have gotten him ourselves.
Yeah, they paid for him and everything. So the royalty, though, is less. We split it with the illustrator, and so that we don't have to do anything. It's basically out of our hands, but the royalty is less for us.
Okay. And traditional.
Same for me. I mean, traditional, you're not really in charge of everything. They're in charge of your timeline. They're in charge of your cover. Now, most of the time, in most contracts that I have, there's an approval process for the cover, so they have to get it approved for me. They're not just going to put something out there. But they pretty much own all the rights except what you negotiate out. If your agent negotiates things out, like the audiobook and foreign and film is almost always taken out, and they own the ebook print rights and world trade. So that's traditional for indie. And like they said, your percentage is smaller, but you have a larger team behind you who's doing a lot of the work. For indie, you're in charge of everything, which is fantastic and horrible all at the same time. It's a wonderful feeling to be in charge. It's kind of interesting because I had done several small and mid-sized publishers, and I had some positive, some negative, mostly some negative experiences. And I decided I was going to do something totally different. I was going to do paranormal rom-com. I was going to do non-conventional covers, like you see the Stay a Spell covers. At the time, there was no one doing illustrated covers for paranormal, and not many were doing title-centric with hand-drawn elements. That's kind of what that is. And they were all doing the cool chick on the cover with the fire coming out, whatever. That was kind of the typical look, of the genre. And I took a chance and I did something different, and the benefit is, I get all the profits, from that. And it took off like wildfire. And so sometimes it's better to trust yourself, and to believe in yourself, because that's why it took me a while to go indie, is I wasn't really trusting that I could do all of those things, on my own. So, but I did have to, I had to put up the cover costs. I had to put up the edit, get my freelance editor. Those costs do come out of your pocket, but you can start small and grow. As you make more, you just reinvest, and start adding on. So, yes, I'm sorry, self-published. Yes.
Are there any, have y'all experienced any, negatives with tradition publishing?
Mm-hmm.
And that may be having to do with a publisher rather than traditional, or, if you could share some of those horror stories.
I don't know. Now we really need some time. Do y'all want to share? I had a great experience coming out the gate. It was a publisher. It's called Samhain Publishing, or Samhain, however you want to pronounce that Irish term. And they were perfect. They were on fire in my genre. And I was really seeing like readers are coming to me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And then they went bankrupt. And I had just signed a new contract with them, and I was like, man, what am I going to do with this? And I had also signed with a different mid-sized publisher that was taken over by another, they were bought out by new people. So the editor I had was switched to another editor who we didn't jive well, and she was not very responsive. And so I had problems with editors, and then they started giving me covers that were just, oh God, they just weren't, they weren't good. I didn't think they were good. They thought they were good. And by the time we kind of made the decision, it was like too late. And when this is my like third publisher. I did 3 small, mid-size, however you want to call it. They were kind of in between. And by the time that came out, I was locked in for 2 contracts and realized I'd made a mistake. And so I had to fulfill those contracts. My intellectual property is theirs, until I fulfill that contract.
What was the gist of it? That was...
They weren't selling. I just wasn't getting the readership and they weren't investing in the marketing that they said they were. And this particular publisher, I know now that I've talked to several authors in the same sister authors in that publisher, they pick favorites. They will pick like one favorite and then invest all of their money and all of their time in that person or that author, an idea. And the others are just quantity. It's just like, it doesn't matter that you don't make very much because they're still getting a piece of your pie. So those were eye-opening experiences for me. And that was when I was like, I'm doing the next one on my own. I don't care what happens. I'm taking a chance on myself. And it was the best decision ever made.
All right. So that pushed you to do your own thing.
Yes. And things are, going on.
Carol and Nancy, since you've done all 3, do you have a preference? And is it based on maybe what the project is, what the book is, that you kind of select, okay, we're gonna try traditional for this, or we're gonna do hybrid? And what determines that for y'all?
I think that's exactly right. It was the book and the time, and so we've had good, bad experiences with all of them. I would say the one that's been the most successful was actually our first book. We sold out. We ordered 2,000 copies because we didn't know better, and they were hard copies coming to our houses. And so we had to get in our cars and start selling those books right away. And we self-published, so we were in total control, and we sold out. And that's when Pelican bought it. And then you just give it over to them. They changed the cover, they changed the back. Some things I didn't like, but there it is, and they have it out. And I think you really have to investigate your publisher and your situation and your book, because your experience with Pelican is very different from our experience with Pelican, just because the time of the publishing and who was in charge. Mm-hmm. And so that is going to, you can't predict those kind of things, but you can investigate. And just to tell you, the guy that what he told us about hybrid publishing. So this is from our publisher, one of them. A 50-50 agreement enables publishers and authors to share the financial risk as well as awards. So that is so true. Get some books published that might otherwise not be feasible for the publisher. Book publishing is a low-profit business, given all the cost. In many cases, it's a no-profit business, so you should know that going in. There are over 40 cost factors involved in editing, producing, printing, distribution, marketing, accounting, warehousing, fulfillment, etc. So printing is only one factor, albeit the most easily identifiable.
So now, I think through any of them, I think the major thing is, regardless if you self-publish, hybrid, or a traditional, you, the author, still has to market it and still.
That's 100% true.
Is number one. Even with the traditional, it's our responsibility.
Yeah.
It comes down.
Because I always want, I'm like, well, you're the publisher, you should be doing this. And it's like, no, you need to do that. Whatever you think that they want to do or they should do, you should do it and do it. Because they'll do what they have done, but you can always do more. And it's your book, and you're going to be the most passionate about it and try to find those little avenues.
Yeah. And I just want to add that I think it also depends like what genre you're writing in and publishing in. I can't speak to, children's books or anything, but it can be lucrative depending what genre you're in, and if like I sell a lot of ebooks, that's where my audience is consuming most of my books, and a lot of them will just buy the print copies to put on their shelf or to post on Instagram, and so like you were saying, it is very important also to have a presence. That was the one thing I also decided to do. I saw there was this whole movement of bookstagrammers. They call them bookstagrammers, just like BookTube and BookTok and all these other things. That was becoming sort of big around 2019 when I was getting ready to publish this book. So I said, okay, I need a presence on Instagram. I need something that looks pretty professional. So I have a social media assistant who creates all my graphics. I couldn't do that in the beginning. I didn't have money to hire anybody to work for me. Yeah. But now it's essential. I have a brand, I have a look, and it all has to match. When I'm going to a book con, my banner, everything is in line with my brand. My online presence has to be in line with my brand.
So again, tell us, how long has this journey been? Because everybody, that is maybe the ultimate.
Okay, well, I started writing my first book that I published in like 2011, and it took me a year-ish to write. I mean, I remember, it took me a long time to write that first book. I'm now writing a book. I can write a book in about 2 to 3 months now, and that's pretty 90,000 words. So I could not do that in the beginning. It took me forever to get that one book done, but I've just become very disciplined. I feel pretty confident in my craft. I'm still growing. I still read. I read a lot in my genre. Whatever genre you are writing in, you should be also reading in, because you also need to see what is popular. Why is this good? Sometimes, I'll read books and I'm like, I don't like that. Why didn't I like that? So I'm just analyzing while I'm reading, to hone my own craft, and I write books that I would want to read, and fortunately there's an audience out there. There's a lot of people who like to read what I like to read. So, Oh, there's different book conferences. I'm sorry. And that was another thing, like it took me forever. Most of these you have to be selected and invited to go. And there was this one international one. It's called RARE, Romance Authors Readers Unite or something. I don't even know the acronym. I don't even know what it stands for. But I always dream, I was like, one day I want to be invited to RARE. So I would always, fill out these author interest forms, like, always just hoping to get invited. And sure enough, I did. My husband and I went. He was my lovely assistant at the table last year in London, and we're going to Edinburgh this year. So excited about that. And but once I finally started getting invited to the book conferences, because that's where their romance readers are rabid, like rabid. Oh, good gracious life. I started getting invited to a lot. So now I'm doing 3 to 4 a year now. Yeah. So
So with all those conferences, Carol, if you want to talk about maybe SWIBI and what that stands for, and you can, that's for our children's books, middle grade, young adult.
Right. So we've gone into the children's book after we started with this one, but it's great to join that organization, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, the international organization. And we have a region, Louisiana, Mississippi region, which has critique groups. We have one in Lafayette. We meet on Zoom. And so interacting with other authors and people who are writing the way you're writing is a good thing because it helps you stay connected. It helps you get ideas from them about how to market, how to write, where your writing's good, where it could be perfected. And all that is really critical as you make this journey. And marketing is such a key part of it. And I can't stress that enough. And knowing where your book will fit in. So this book, the story of the Katrina Rose, when we go to garden events, it sells like crazy. But if we, some other areas, maybe not so much. Same with Andrew Higgins. It's going to be a different audience, so know where you go to the romance things and people flock to, so know where your book would sell well. Not everybody's book does well in every specific place. So you might just be not wasting your time, but not do as well.
Market smart. Yeah.
I know one thing that I did not know before we got into this is if you're going with a traditional publisher, expect a long timeline.
Yeah, that's true too.
We started working with Pelican on this one in March of 2018. It came out in May 2020. A lot changed. We were in the midst of COVID when it came out. So, what you think about when you do this, you're thinking about the world being just like it is now, and it may not be. So
there may be a worldwide quarantine.
Now, with a lot of books, we have experienced with this, the shipping and the release date. Because a lot are published, Korea, Singapore, China. And so you're dealing with the supply line.
Right.
Or, the water in the...
That's true. That's a really good point, though, what they're saying about traditional versus indie is, and that's what I was thinking when I was saying timeline, is that, like you said, you may turn in the book and it's ready to go, but they're not going to publish it for a year or so because they also have their release schedule. I just turned in my manuscript in February for my first full traditional publisher that I've signed with since The Nightmares. But this is a legit one that I'm really excited about. But they're not publishing it until 2025. But I knew that going in, into the contract. And also I had a lot more sway going into those negotiating contracts than I did when I started and I was a newbie and I had no sales behind me. I had no record of sales to show or an audience. I went to them with a full readership. So it was a much more powerful, stance to be able to go into that and to feel completely and comfortable, All
right, so we have like 15 more minutes, and I know y'all have a lot of questions. If y'all want to say something more, or we'll open it up. And I have some more questions, but I want the audience to ask what is on your mind. Yes.
Okay, youth illustrators that they are. Do you know how an illustrator is applied? So I'm coming at this from the point of view of following. I know you did yours.
Right, right. But I have been asked to do other people's.
So you kind of, like a publishing company, will they necessarily have illustrators on the side?
For ours, when we did the Andrew Higgins book, they asked us to look for an illustrator, and I think it was through their website or something. We found this one that we really liked. We wanted more realism in the drawings, and then they negotiated. We had nothing to do with negotiation. They had a list there. With the Katrina Rose book, we were totally on our own, and we went looking for illustrators. And the publisher again suggested a person, but this person was not from Louisiana. They had no clue what Louisiana looks like. Everything was way too stark, and so we started looking around for a New Orleans artist. We wanted that feel, and that look, and that's what we did. So you do have to search. I know people have searched a lot to find, sure, to get you and everything, but yeah, finding the right illustrator is important.
And it puts you, I'm sorry, there's now got CBWI doing that. There's those there. Yeah, there's well, y'all have to square the out.
Yeah, it's scbwi.org, I think is the
Society of Children, SCB.
yeah, Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI.
The illustrators, you can see a lot of their work on me. Have a lot of access.
Yeah, I mean, just like an author, an illustrator can get an agent, and they can be with that publishing house. Yeah. But if you know any illustrators, there's, I'd say UL and Pelican, that they're always looking, and it would be great to send them, a portfolio or a link or something, because they are, when they try to match or they don't know somebody, they kind of rely on the author to get them. Yeah. Anyone else has a question? Yeah. Can you unpack the BookCon experience?
Oh, wow. Yes. So,
Profitable for you?
so they're really about promotion. It's really about promotion. Now I will make money on the books, but I'm spending more on the hotel and getting my books there and that kind of thing. It's an investment. And I don't know that I did very small ones in the beginning, like I did the Louisiana Book Festival. But now I don't do Louisiana Book Festival because I want to be where the romance readers are, and they're at the romance book cons. So yeah, if whatever genre you're in, if you can get to one of those book cons, that's where you want to be, where all the readers are really there, for you. And specifically, they've started one called Romantasy Book Con in Orlando. That's a new one I'm going to this October. And it's all romantasy readers. So it's like literally every reader there reads what the genre that I write in. So,
They have different, they have self-publishers and traditional publishers?
Yeah. And yes. In romance, we're across the board. Like I consider myself a hybrid author because I have some with traditional publishers. I have some that are indie only. They're all mine. I own everything. And then I have some that are some ebook rights. Ebook rights are mine, but the print rights are theirs. I also sell all my audiobook, my audio rights and my foreign, because I just can't deal with all that. I have friends. I have one friend who gets hers translated into German, and she does it all. Like, she has a German translator. You have to pay all that up front, but you get all the profit that comes from it. And she is just killing it in Germany. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I need to get on this bandwagon. So, I'm still learning things. I was like, well, I hadn't even thought about doing that, doing foreign myself. Cause, I've recently sold Italian. Well, it depends which book, but the book that's coming out with a traditional publisher is Tor, which I don't know if you know Tor, but they're big, and they're a New York publisher, and we've sold UK rights to Tor. We've sold Spanish, Italian, and now Russian. And yes, and my agent is looking to pitch to production companies, so in Hollywood. So that's really cool, but that person came to my door because she read Wolf Gone Wild, and she's like, I really love this style of writing. Would you be interested in trying a traditional deal? They had just opened this brand new romance imprint for Tor. And I was like, well, yes, but I really don't have any, I have stories in the vault, but they're all on the darker side. And I was like, would you consider something like this? And she was like, oh yeah, that's totally cool. But it never would have happened if I hadn't taken a chance on myself and indie published and followed, my own instincts. Do you know what I'm saying? And believed in myself. And so it's been a long journey, to get to this point, but it's been worth it.
Somebody else said, yeah.
Do you have anybody that just do the book covers here to be a book? This needs somebody to help you.
We did that with that one. So we just got an artist who did the cover because we didn't have illustrations inside. So you can do that. You can negotiate for that.
Yeah, there are a million book cover artists out there. they're all over the place. I don't even know how. I mean, I just Google and your genre and you'll find them. The other way to do it is how we do it a lot is I'll see some really cool cover and I'm like, man, I love that style. Well, I'll go find out who did their book cover, and then I'll find artists. I have authors approach me all the time. Can you tell me who did your book covers for Stay a Spell? And I'm like, sure, So, you just have to do a little bit of research. But yes, cover artists, they work for themselves. They're freelance, most of them. And there's a lot of indie authors out there now. So they're doing pretty well for themselves as well.
Anyone else?
When you say self-publishing, what I mean the best thing is Kindle Direct.
Yes. Kindle KDP, Kindle Direct. Yes. And there are different schools of philosophy on that as well, like whether to go wide or whether to go with KU. Because if you go with Kindle Unlimited, if y'all know that subscription with KU, if you're in Amazon KU, if your ebook's there, it cannot be in anywhere else. It can't be in Apple. It can't be in Kobo. It can't be anywhere. But you can also just list it on Amazon, not go the Kindle Unlimited route, and go wide with Apple Books and Google and all these other things. For me, KU is way more lucrative. Kindle Unlimited.
Oh, no.
And that's just like if you upload your books to KDP, you'll come to this thing. Would you like your book in, KDP Select, Kindle Unlimited,
So much.
It's just because, I mean, my genre is a very consumable genre. Romance readers are reading a book a week or a book a day or whatever. So, KU makes sense for them because it's much cheaper for them, less expensive for them.
Labs. Now that you all have books published and printed in readers' hand, whenever you're creating a new book, so you feel like you need some time, you saw your readers and you sacrificing your creativity in that process, and okay, I mean, doesn't negotiate that.
So you want to answer?
Well, our books are very different. We're obviously not catering to anybody. And they've come about for different reasons. We knew the story. We wanted it out. This one somebody asked us to write about for the centennial, and so different ways. So but a romance is probably a different whole thing, so.
In my genre, that's called writing to market. And so I don't really do that necessarily. I mean, I would say I'm writing to market now because I'm doing a spinoff of Stay a Spell because I'm writing to my readers market because I'm doing really well with that series. And readers like, please, are you going to write a spinoff series or whatever? And I decided, yes, I would. I'm going to do a next generation, 25 years later when the older kids grow up, so it's the same world, same sort of witchy environment. And it's kind of like Supernatural, if anybody knows that show. But it's so for me personally, I don't, but I know a lot of people who do. They will literally research what's making the most money right now in contemporary romance, which trope is really killing it, in paranormal, and they will literally just write books, for that. But I don't do that, so.
I can tell you one thing about Pelican Publishing or Cho's books. They tend to really focus on Louisiana. And, I've done several for them and with that, but I'm ready to, I want to go beyond Louisiana. So it's kind of tough. I had written a story and that was pretty general, and I had some Louisiana in it, and they liked it and wanted to publish it Pelican, but they wanted more Louisiana in it. More Cajun. So I was like, okay. So I did, and it actually got better. And I think it was because of the illustrations. I had more ideas to put into that picture, that page, that spread. So in that regards, it was good. But I'm ready. I'm enough. I feel like with Louisiana, I've done. I'll probably do more, but I want to do more than.
Yeah.
But that's different publishers,
Yeah.
Okay. So I have several last questions, but before, we might run out of time, but if you could go back in time and tell your younger self about the writing process, what advice would you give yourself? That's good. Maybe I should think about that too.
I will go with that because, and then Carol can correct anything I say. I would say get yourself a little bit more organized. We have learned from us. I mean, this book right here, we had this idea and we had no idea about anything. I mean, it was just not to do it. Yeah, we were just going to do it. And so then we approached people and asked them for recipes and told them the book would be out the next Christmas. And then every place we went, they were like, oh no, it will be 2 years before your book comes out if we take it. And we were just, that's how we ended up doing it ourselves the first time. We did layout. We did every single thing that had to do with the book, including going to the printer ourselves, everything.
We printed locally.
Yeah.
That we didn't do it. There was no KDP at the time.
Yeah, and then we had it like certified Louisiana books. So it was, I would say that we just fell into this and then we fell into that. And I think probably you'd do better if you were more organized.
No, I have to agree. I say you have to go in knowing it's a business because we went in thinking we're authors, and so we still wear shirts. Just in case we forget. But you are in a business because you have to market it, you have to keep records, you have to pay taxes. You're doing the whole thing. I don't care what kind of publishing. Every one of those books we have to do the whole thing for. So it is a business. And the other thing, now that it's so easy to publish a book, you can just go to Amazon and upload your book and you're done. But just beware, there's scams now. There are all kinds of dangers, and just heads up on everything. Do your homework and look at it real carefully and keep good records.
Yeah. Steph?
Well, it would be more, not with the writing process, but definitely publishing. I think trust yourself, you know. I wish I had believed in myself a little bit sooner, you know, because I would have, you know, I feel like I didn't take enough risk in the beginning as far as just like trusting myself that I could do it. And also just, I know this sounds very philosophical, but you need tenacity and grit and a tough skin. When you're querying for agents, you may get rejected 100 times or more, you know, and that's the norm. That is literally the norm. I had friends at the beginning of my writing publishing career who I really don't, because they gave up and they just, you know, and it's like our bond was the writing process, the publishing process. And so it will pay off if you're tenacious and you keep trying and if it's important to you. Like, I love writing. I really love writing. I hate editing, you know, I despise it, you know, but it's like, but that's part of the process, you know, and I know it is. And like they said, like all of those little pieces and parts, marketing, taxes, all those things, you just have to be ready for it if you really want it.
I think for me, I would take more classes. You know, I mean, I'm an artist first. I always think that. I think the only thing good with me is that when I do writing or when I think of writing, like, it's just a hobby. I mean, you know, it's not what I do. So it takes off the pressure, which is good. I kind of trick myself into saying that, you know. I think with the book, I mean, the picture books, it comes kind of naturally just because the illustration I can handle that. But I do write. I mean, I have written one novel and writing some more, but, you know, that's a hobby. But I know, you know, I need to invest in it. I know I need to probably pay that developmental editor. That might be $12,000 to $5,000 that I don't want to do because I think was a hobby. What, you know, so that
Not 12,000. You're not paying 12,000 to it. Okay. Let's say who you're getting robbed. Stop that, Paul. Okay.
That would be really good.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And then about querying process, I mean, I do it all the time, especially with children's books. And I mean, I get rejected, but it seems like, and I've been doing that for a while, to agents, not querying agents. And, you know, I'm getting rejected once a week, but they seem to be getting, they might be form letters, but they're nicer form letters.
Yeah. That happened to me too.
That they're writing this, you know, I mean, I'd say the best one that the rejection was, well, two of them. It said, like the illustrations, but just needs a little more, I don't know, they wanted more tension in the story. So, I mean, at least that's something I can work with. And so I may query that person again, but, you know, and that's a little more feedback than, thank you, again, that said, that's what I want right now. But you got to keep doing it.
Yep.
Skin, I mean, so what? They know. I mean, you stop, keep adding. And the thing is to find that agent, do your research. You know, you have to find the right one.
Didn't get no like 20 letters.
There's tons of information on.
Online or go to a critique,
Yeah.
read it out, and they'll tell you. That sounds
Yeah, I would recommend joining like writing groups that are in your genre on Facebook. That's also very helpful. And they can have tips on publishing, writing, the whole shebang.
Well, as a question, you said that publishers are interested in Louisiana stories. Do you think there's a little for one more Indian story?
Yeah.
That absolutely not flex. I'm not trying to make money on it. And I'm like Miss Cross, I started 140 you. Just gonna like simply genealogy. I figured if I put out a book on the Gilead family, I can sell 10,000 copies in Louisiana. I don't know, I make it right. I think there are more Gileads in Flames than there are people that go to church on Sunday. But anyway, this is what I am. Speculating, I read it again like Kiwanis one day, and these wanted to know if I was glad on book. I said, yeah, I thought about my family too now. No, you gotta write personal stories. You gotta put your memoirs in. That's it, wouldn't be interested in reading that speak. Because think about your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, somebody I guess that I relate to. So I've been reading different books that authors have written, but growing up in Europe, growing up in general, so I started putting stories in. My question is, what kind of publisher do I go to ask? I'm not through yet. I might have another 40 years to run. Ready to go. Who do I go to? What kind of publisher engages in? This is Orkley family genealogy. But let me ask you all a simple question. How many of you have read the story of the sinking of the Duke Williams during the exile of the Octavians from Prince Edward Island? The phrase you hear all the time about Beausoleil and Broussard. So everything, I'm glad he's there. But there are so many more people.
Right. I would start with a university class. Sure.
and then
Well, I risk it. Lafayette. Yeah. They don't do genealogies. Okay. They throw it out.
Well, maybe can you say that it's more of a memoir and you get rid of that genealogy word?
That's one in trying to do.
LSU maybe.
I would not call it genealogy.
Yeah.
I mean, genealogy, your memoir.
Because look, when I search for agents, they list what they are wishing for, and they have a lot of them are memoirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the title is going to be a mountain of our people picking up. And it's the hardest of them getting exiled from Prince Edward Island back to France and the Louisiana. Yeah.
I think it's how you word your query. They surprise and then you want to market. It may be a little different way. Yeah, to not to get away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I would recommend self-publishing as well.
Quicker. Because I know you're young.
Well, I mean, and it's, you want to get it out there, and you can start from there and then,
Researching genealogy, yeah, funny, no.
Don't you press
That same that.
the dump something. And I get down. Okay, Paul mentioned the dollar amount. Just tell publishers what how much money are you talking about?
It all depends. It really depends. My typical editor for a 90,000 word book, a developmental edit can be around 1,000, 1,000 to 1,500 for a developmental edit. And there's multiple kinds of edits. There's copy and line edit is less expensive. So now I rely heavily on my beta readers who basically are like critique partners, and they critique it. So I do all the developmental editing through them, and I only get the line and copy edit, paid for. And then I have to pay for the covers, and that can range from $100 to $2,000. Like, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for an original work of art, or you're looking for stock photo image kind of thing, you know. So
Talk about graphic earlier, and I didn't like. Yeah, you talking about. You talked about social media and graphic.
yeah, so I have an Instagram for my books, and so I hired a social media assistant who is really, really good, who knows aesthetics, who knows how to do all the graphics, and so she does my graphics and my photographs of my books, you know, all for posting online.
Okay, thank you.
But with self-publishing, I mean, it's kind of, I think, I haven't done any, but, you know, if you buy 1,000 books, it's going to be one cost of those 1,000 books versus 5,000, right? I mean, there's some kind of cost break, right? I mean,
And you can basically publish for free
that's true.
to Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon costs nothing.
And it's on
ebook.
Amazon, but you pay by book. And it's
Right.
relatively, I mean, if you want to start from just publishing.
No, it's actually it's free for print too, but well, they're not going to print it for free, but you can upload it and list it and distribute it through Amazon for free, and you get, you know, basically a much smaller cost than what you're charging, you know, for the book.
Okay, y'all, we have reached the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you.